Hey guys, I wanted to get on here tonight and talk to you about Connor's eye surgery he had. He had it in December, so it's October now that I'm recording, and so it's almost been a year, so it'll be a year in December he had it. And I realized I've talked about his other surgeries, but I haven't got on here and talked to you about it, so I wanted to talk to you about it. The orphanage had let us know when we adopted Connor that they suspected that he had nystagmus, and that is where your eyes jerk involuntarily. You cannot control it. They can jerk vertically, but Connor's is horizontally. They do not do it all the time. So what happened was anytime they would get him to the doctor, they weren't doing it. So they cannot diagnose you if it's not happening. So you know how it is, like when your kid's sick and you get them to the doctor and they're acting completely fine, and so it was one of them things they couldn't for sure diagnose. So we wanted to definitely get him into our doctor, plus we wanted his vision checked just in case. And so when we went to the eye doctor, we also had noticed his eye was turning in. It was this eye, it would turn in. And so he talked to us about that. He asked us about this eye. We're like, no, this eye never does it. Well, he covered up this eye, and this eye immediately turned in. What? I was so shocked when that happened. I just couldn't believe it. So what happened was when Connor would look at you, this eye would turn this way. So he explained to us we really needed to get that corrected, because what happens is, obviously if one eye's straight and one eye's turning this way, you're seeing two different things, because with this eye you're seeing this way and with this eye you're seeing this way. And isn't the human brain so amazing? Because what your brain does is it learns to ignore this eye because you don't want to see doubly. So what can happen over time is if your eyes do it all the time, your brain will eventually learn to stop seeing with one of the eyes. So in order to ignore one, if it does it for long enough, it would just not see out of this eye. Now, could he literally see out of it? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the eye, but the brain wouldn't relay the message, so he wouldn't see with it, if that makes sense. I was shocked. I'd never really heard of anything like that, and I just was like, wow, we definitely want this nipped in the bud, corrected, please, 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 and before there's a problem. So he suggested patching. We were going to try that before we did surgery. Obviously, Connor at the time had been put under for 3 surgeries, and I'm like, I do not want a 4th if I don't have to put him through it. I'm a nervous wreck anytime they put him under, as any parent is. And so I was like, yeah, let's try patching. So what he had us do was every night we would patch an eye. We would alternate eyes. So like if tonight we did this eye, tomorrow we did this eye, and we did it for 2 hours. And Connor was a champ. He did awesome. He did way better than I expected. And it was just these big, they're like Band-Aids, but it just patched over. You leave it for 2 hours, take it off, no problem. And we did that for about 6 months. And then we went back to the eye doctor. So when we went back to the eye doctor, he said his eyes, let me backtrack. What it is his eye muscles weren't strong enough to hold his eyes straight. It was letting that one turn in. So when we went back after these 6 months, the doctor said they've definitely strengthened. I see a big difference. It's much stronger. It's not happening as often. But I can tell you that the patches aren't going to cut it. They're not going to correct this problem, and he needs the surgery. And I was so sad, but I just wanted it corrected, because once he explained to me that you could lose the vision, well, not really lose, but the brain would start always ignoring that one eye, it really scared me, and I really obviously wanted it corrected for him. So I'm like, okay. We scheduled the surgery for the day after Christmas. We've got a lot of backlash for that, so let me explain why we did that. I had, in October of last year, I had got a job at our local high school, so I had the same breaks and time off as Connor. It's been amazing for our family. I might do a video on that later, but it's been awesome, and I love my job. And so I had just started in October, and then December he needed this surgery. Obviously, I'm the newest person. I'm not wanting to miss a whole lot of work. They completely understand. Don't get me wrong. They're not giving me any trouble about it whatsoever. But I'm trying my best to schedule things when we're off. And plus, I don't want Connor to miss a lot of school either because he gets his therapies and all that at school. And school's very, very important. And he loves school. So we decided to do it the day after Christmas because obviously Connor and I were out of school until after New Year, and it just seemed like the appropriate amount of time for me to be out with him, and we didn't want him to be sick at Christmas because he was sick last Christmas, and so it just seemed like a fit for our family. We've got a lot of backlash for doing it that way, but it's what worked best, and so that's when we did it. So we went in, we had a wonderful Christmas. It was amazing. And we went in and got him ready for surgery. You know, they always put you in this waiting room, and there was tons of kids there waiting for surgery from Gitchlag. And this was at East Tennessee Children's Hospital. And it was a day surgery. We got to go home that same day, but they don't like to do it at the surgery center, which he has had a surgery there before, but with Down syndrome, there's an increased risk when they put him under anesthesia. He's never had a problem, thank you, Lord. But there's an increased risk of their heart rate dipping down too low afterwards, so he always gets an IV during surgery, just in case his heart rate were to do that. He could go ahead and get the medication for that. And so we're very grateful for a doctor who suggests that completely up front, and for all his surgeries, they've done that for him. And so we love that. We're thankful for that. And Gitchlag's amazing, by the way. I'll try to talk about that later on here too. And so Jeremy went with me because he was out of work also, because it was the day after Christmas. And they took him back for surgery. He was happy that morning. He was in good spirits, you know, and they took him back, and the surgery lasted about an hour. Gitchlag was super busy that day. He had 2 ERs open, and so when he was in there finishing up with one, they were already in the room with the other child, putting them under, which it's amazing. He had a well-oiled system going there. It went great, but as a parent, it made me really nervous. I'm like, you're too busy, you're too tired, you got too much going on, you know, but it was fine. He's great at what he does. We love him. And so they took Connor back, and we went out and waited, and in about an hour they called us back, you know, Malone family, which we know the whole drill. He'd had 3 previous surgeries at East Tennessee Children's Hospital, so we knew the drill. And he called us back to this little waiting room, and he told us everything went great. Whew, you could breathe again, you know, what a relief. He's doing great, and they're going to get you back to see him in a little bit. And we're like, we had to go back the very next day to be seen. And so we scheduled a time for that, and then we had to go back in a week and be seen. And what they're doing there is they're making sure there's no sign of infection, because these are your eyes, so it's super serious. They sent us back to the room we started out in, and they were going to bring him to us. So we're in this room. There's kids everywhere because he's working 2 ER rooms, and there's just like a curtain separating you from all these other children that are waiting to go back. And me and Jeremy were sitting in this room, and we're waiting on them to bring him. I was pretty calm. I didn't think a whole lot of it, because his last surgery was tubes in his ears, and it was a breeze. He acted like nothing even happened when he woke up, besides he could hear. And I don't even think I've done a video on that, but I will. And anyway, so super relaxed once I found out everything was okay. It was definitely the calm before the storm, and I was super wrong because it was about to get rough. But anyway, I thought we were golden. So all of a sudden, I hear these blood-piercing screams, and me and Jeremy looked at each other, and we knew it was Connor. You know, you hear all the time people talk about when it's your kid crying all of a sudden on the playground, you know it's your kid, and it's 100% true, y'all. It really is. We immediately had looked at each other. We knew it was our child. We knew it was Connor. And so they brought him in the room, and I will say they had told me up until that point that all the white in his eyes would be bloody looking. It would be bright red for like 6 weeks. It would look really bad. And that when he cried, it would be bloody tears. They had told me all that. I was prepared for all that. But what I was not prepared for was so much crying. I just thought, hey, if he cries a little, it'll be bloody. I'm thinking a tear here and there, wipe them away, no big deal. Connor, it was not the case. It was bad. Connor came out of surgery screaming his head off. They brought him in the room where we were. He's going crazy. He's flailing in the bed, like throwing his body like something crazy, throwing his body up against the rails, and his eyes are like tight shut, not just shut, like clenched shut. And there's blood going everywhere, and it was tears everywhere. And he's screaming. It ain't even a cry, y'all. It's a scream with tears, okay? A scream. And so she's like, you can go and pick him up. So I picked him up, and I, tried to lay him up on me. I'm sorry, I'm going to try not to cry. I told him that I was there, and everything was okay. And he was fine. I kept saying over and over, you're fine. Mama and Daddy are right here. You're fine. And I'm holding him, and he's stiff. Like, he's just clenched up. It was awful. And he's crying. I had blood all over me when it was over. It was fine. I'm not complaining. And he would I would have to hold him up here like a baby, because he would throw himself back. Like, he would arch his back and throw himself toward the floor. And now, this ain't no little baby. My kid, at the time, he was 5. So this is a 5-year-old body. Now, yeah, his weight's super low, so it ain't like a 5-year-old's weight. But still, he's a tall boy. I'm a short stature woman. It was hard to keep trying to hold him up when he's fighting me. And he's fighting me, and it's awful. And so I hand him to Jeremy. Was no better for Jeremy. He kept pointing back toward the bed. Now, his eyes are shut. He's pointing back toward the bed, and so we tried laying him back in the bed. Maybe he doesn't even want to be held right now. We laid him back in the bed, and he's slamming around, throwing himself, and so we tried picking him back up. He would throw his body all the way back toward the floor, and we're trying to hold him up. It was like a battle. It was horrible, and my heart was like in a million pieces. It was awful, y'all. And so I'm still trying to talk to him. We're trying to calm him down. Nothing's working. And all these other kids waiting to go to surgery could hear him. And, nurses kept coming in. They were super nice. Please do not take this wrong. But you could tell they were like, get your kid in check. You know what I mean? Because I know it was scaring the other kids. And this one lady said, do you want me to go ahead and give him Tylenol? And I'm like, yes. He's in pain. He needs something. And so she gave him some Tylenol. Of course, we had to force it down his throat. He's mad. He's flailing all over. I'm trying to hold him like a baby. He's 5 years old. That's hard to do. He's a big old long boy. He's kicking. He's smacking. His eyes are shut, And so she brings in a drink. And I know a rule's a rule, and I'm not mad at them. They're trying to make sure he's okay before they send him home so we don't have to come back. I get it. I totally do. She's like, if he'll drink a little bit, he can go home. He can get the IV out and go home. And I'm like, do you see him right now? He is not going to drink. So, of course, we're trying to force the straw in his mouth. Nothing's working. He's mad. He's screaming. And then we're getting frustrated because we're thinking we're never going to go home because he's acting like this and he won't drink. But, yeah, he would be calmer if we went home. We all just want to go home. We're super tired, blah, blah, blah. So I finally got him up here, and I'm trying to calm him down, and nothing's working. So we did what we did in Hong Kong that calmed him down when he was scared to death of us and crying. We turned on YouTube children's songs videos, and he calmed down. His body relaxed, and he didn't really have them open. He had them like this, so we couldn't really still see his eyes, but he opened them up to watch these videos. He's sitting in Jeremy's lap, and Jeremy's got his phone right here. He's watching these videos. So I lean over, and he's still refusing to drink. I lean over and I tell him, Connor, if you'll drink this, they're going to let us go home. Do you want to go home? You got to drink something if you want to go home. They're going to take this ouchie out, because he was super mad about the IV. They're going to take this ouchie out of your arm, and we can go home. And y'all, this is where it aggravates me when people think that he doesn't understand you, because he's proven time and time and time again that he does. And if you know someone who's nonverbal, please do not be under the impression that they don't understand. They can't speak back to you. They totally can hear you, and they totally can understand what you're meaning and saying to them. So, rant over on that. Sorry. So I tell him, hey, if you'll drink, we get to go home. They'll take this owie out. We can go home. He immediately points to his drink. So I'm like, because we're babying him to death at this point, obviously. So I'm like holding the drink, and I put the straw in his mouth. And he was like, gulp, 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 gulp. Like he drunk and drunk and drunk. And I'm like, baby, you still got to breathe, like calm down. So he drank a bunch. The nurse came in a few minutes, and she's like, okay, we're going to get this IV out. You can go. They came in and took the IV out. Now he's still crying, screaming, bloody murder. There's tears. She had brought me in a washcloth to wipe tears. And everything at hospitals are white. So this washcloth, and I've showed pictures of it before if you're my friend on Instagram or Facebook, but this washcloth was just blood, y'all. Like, we had blood on the bed. We had blood on us. We had blood. There was blood everywhere. It was like streams of blood. And like I said, they had told me his tears would be bloody. I didn't expect so many tears. Like, I didn't expect streams of tears. It just wasn't something I thought would happen. Obviously, I knew it would hurt, but still, it was crazy. So to explain the surgery a little more, what they did was they went in, they clipped his eye muscles down here, and they shortened them. They sutured them back to where they couldn't turn in, because they're shorter now. They don't have as much room to turn. So they're looking straight ahead. So she walked us out to the car. Now they have it where by law they have to make sure you have a car seat, which I think is crazy, but there's crazy people in the world. I understand why there's a rule. So she walks out the hospital. The nurse comes out with us, and that's fine. He's screaming. He's fighting me. I'm trying to carry him. He's like going stiff on me, trying to throw himself back toward the ground. His eyes are clenched shut. I've got blood all over me. He's got blood all over him. And so we get out to the parking lot. She kind of where's your car? And we're like, it's right here. She glances in, sees a car seat. She's like, okay, hope he gets better. Y'all have a good day. She was super nice. Everybody's always been, I've never had anybody be mean to me there. They're all super nice there. And so we went home. He cried the entire way home. We stopped at Walgreens just to grab his medicine real quick, and we went home. And he laid on the couch, and he would fall asleep, wake up crying, fall asleep, wake up crying. We had blood everywhere. I tried to get him to eat. He hadn't ate anything that day. He refused to eat. I was trying to get him to drink. He didn't want to drink. It was bad. It was super bad, and he would not open his eyes. And I guess I wasn't prepared for that part, which they couldn't really prepare me for that part. It wasn't their fault, because they had no idea. I don't think it's not normal, but I don't think it's normal with every child. So they don't tell you, hey, they ain't going to open their eyes for 24 hours, And that freaked me out. So it got to be late. It got to be nighttime. And after we battled all evening on the couch, I would try holding him. He didn't want held. He wanted to lay down. I'd lay him down. He'd cry. He wouldn't open his eyes. So I could imagine he was scared. There were times I could tell by his breathing he was awake, but he would not open his eyes. Like, it was horrible, y'all. We had blood everywhere. Bloody tears everywhere. And crying, all that, couldn't be good for his eyes either. So that evening, when it was bedtime, even though he'd been asleep on the couch all day, I did our bedtime routine. I put his jammies on, changed his diaper. I put him to bed. We said our prayers. Well, I said our prayers. He definitely didn't participate in anything. And I put him to bed. He slept all night. Never heard a peep from him. And the next morning, I had been praying. I was like, oh, Lord, please let this be a better morning. Yesterday was so hard. So I went in to get him, and he had his eyes clenched shut. He wouldn't open them. And so I'm talking to him, carrying him in, and I decide we're going to take a bath, because something about anesthesia, I guess it's the way they put it on them and they breathe it in or whatever, and it just gives them a smell. And if your child's had a lot of surgeries, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's not really a stinky smell, but it's like this distinct smell, and it's not a good smell. So I'm like, dude, you need a bath. And I always feel better if I take a bath. So I'm like, that'll make him feel better, right? So I take him in there and I give him a bath. Nope. I totally did that wrong. First I fed him. He had not ate in over 24 hours. And I'm like, he's going to start getting sick from not eating. And if he starts throwing up, he's definitely going to hurt his eyes, you know. So I made him oatmeal. That's what he normally eats for breakfast on the weekend and stuff when I have him for breakfast. During the school year, he eats at school. So he has different things. But I made him some oatmeal, and first he's refusing it, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table holding him, and so I tell him, Connor, you're going to feel a whole lot better if you'll eat. I know you're hungry, and I promise you're going to feel better if you'll eat. So he would, take a bite. Now, he still wouldn't open his eyes, so he was, looking for the spoon, but he ate all his oatmeal, and after that, I gave him a bath, and, while I was feeding him breakfast, though, about halfway through, when he was finished, sorry, this has been almost a year ago, so I'm rusty on this, but when he finished eating breakfast, I told him, Connor, I think we need to try to take a bath, because I think it would make you feel better. And so I'm sitting there talking to him, because I'm not trying to rush anything, because he was still really upset. He wasn't crying, but he wouldn't open his eyes, and so I said, would you want to take a bath? And he said, nah, sorry, y'all, it's almost midnight, I'm super sleepy. He's like, nah, you know, and which is what he says for no all the time. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm just sitting in the kitchen, at the kitchen table, talking to him, and I told him, you know, I loved him, I was super proud of him, he was a tough boy. And all of a sudden, he opened his eyes. And y'all, I knew. They had told me everything white in your eye will be bloody looking red. It's going to stay that way a long time. It's completely normal. But when he opened his eyes and I saw that bloody red, it tore my heart out. And I try to be tough. I try to totally be tough in front of him. I'm not tough at all. I'm a big crier. I'm a big wimp. But I try really hard in front of him. But y'all, I started bawling. And then he started crying. We had a little cry fest, and his tears were bloody, and that made me worse. And I told him, I said, Connor, this was to help you. Mommy would not have let them do this if it wasn't going to help. It's going to really help you. And so we just held each other, and we just cried for a little bit. And then I said, let's take that bath. And so I gave him a bath, and something in that moment changed. He started splashing and playing and laughing, and he was okay. And part of it, too, was I know he ate. And I know that helped him, because I know he couldn't have been feeling good, because he hadn't ate. And it was a better day. He got up and played. He was still not 100% himself. He was still a little whiny, but it was much better. And just opening his eyes made me feel much better. So that afternoon, we went back to Gitchlag, to have him look at his eyes. He said everything looked good. There's no sign of infection. Everything's great. Connor laughed, played, high-fived him, thumbs up them, And so we went back in 1 week. Things got better and better and better. Went back in a week, and he was super pleased. Everything was great. And then we went back in a month, I think. Still all good, all clear. His sutures had dissolved. Everything was great. They were still kind of bloody looking. They were bloody looking for about 6 weeks before it totally went away. And you could see in his eye, too, the sutures, which hurts me. It just seems like it'd be terrible. And he said until the sutures dissolved, it sort of feels like you have a scratch on your eye. So that's got to feel horrendous. I can't even, it drives me nuts. Like when something's in your eye, you have a scratched eye. But anyway, then we went back every 3 months. I'm sorry, y'all. Ooh, I gotta start doing these vlogs earlier. Went back every 3 months. Everything's been looking good. His last visit, he said, I'm going to see you back in December. in November. I'm going to see you back. It is October now. We're going next month. But Connor did come home with a paper from school that he failed an eye test. And so we definitely need him to be seen and check on that. And also, Gitchlag said, let me know if you see any turning in. If there's no turning, we'll check it again in November. If there's no turning in November, we will not see you again until May. I'm sorry. Well, I'm terrible. That's awful. I won't see you again until the summer, probably in May. And if everything's good in May, you can start just coming for yearly appointments. Because if they haven't turned in by May, which is a year and a half later, the probability of them turning in is as likely as mine or yours all of a sudden turning in for no reason. So that was awesome. But then a few months after the appointment, his eyes started turning in a little. They don't do it all the time. They don't do it a whole lot. But when they do, it's like he's completely cross-eyed. Like they both turn in pretty bad. So that and the failed eye test, we're going back here in a few weeks. And we'll go from there. And we'll see what's going on. I have no idea. He did tell me that we would more than likely not do another surgery. That would not be something we do. We will not patch again. And so we'll see. They can turn back in. It's something that can happen. We're hopeful that it's going to be no big deal. We definitely don't want another surgery because he's had another surgery since then. So we're up to 5 surgeries. And anyway, we're super hopeful that they won't have to do anything. But if anything does need done, we're hoping it's glasses, just because that would mean no surgery. And that would be something we haven't tried. So anyway, we love Dr. Gitchlag at East Tennessee Children's Hospital. So if you need an eye doctor for your child, a specialist, we totally recommend him. He is amazing. Connor loves him. I can't quit yawning. I'm a horrible vlogger. I really am. So, that is a wrap on Connor's eye surgery. We survived. We made it, but it was rough. And it was super hard. And those bloody looking eyes were pitiful. And him not opening his eyes for 24 hours like to killed me. The bloody tears did me in. But we made it. God is faithful. We have awesome specialists and doctors. We've been totally blessed by the right people at the right time in our life. And we're so thankful for Dr. Gitchlag and his team and East Tennessee Children's Hospital, who's been amazing to us. We love the doctors, the nurses, the staff, and we're just super blessed. Having a good life doesn't mean that bad things don't happen. Obviously, we would have loved it if the patches would have worked and we wouldn't have to do this. But we did have to do this, and we were blessed. We know that. A lot of people, a lot of times are like, how can you say you're blessed? He's had all these surgeries and, all these hospitalizations and all these things happen to him. Well, we're blessed to have Connor, period, in our life, to be parents, to get to love him and raise him. And we're blessed that we have been referred to these amazing specialists who care about him and who come up with a plan to take care of him and his needs. And we're super blessed with friendly, nice doctors, a wonderful hospital, a great place to call home. And we wish that he didn't need these surgeries, but we've been blessed through them all with success. And we've been blessed by good care. And as far as all the hospitalizations, he's always healed. He's always become well again. And so even in our darkness, y'all, we are so blessed. There's always light. And Jesus is our light, and he takes care of us. And anyway, I'm on here ranting and rambling, but I just wanted to say that because I know a lot of times people are like, she acts like life is all rainbows and butterflies. It's totally not. But if we'll step back and look, after a storm, there's normally a rainbow. So let's just try to step back and look and find the good. Sometimes everything isn't always wonderful. Everything doesn't always feel good. But if we'll step back and look, we'll find good in all situations because that's how God works and that's how he takes care of his people. And so we are super blessed